boys and girls, I'm now going to show you how we're going to add some details to our buildings, our city buildings, to make them look more interesting in our picture. So what I want you to do is make sure that each of the tops of your buildings, pretend these are the rooftops, each of the rooftops has some sort of detail, and the sides of your building has some sort of detail. So your details could be a logo, like this one right here. I put the Nike word and then I put a logo. They could be just pictures, like I drew some tiny trees and a little pool on the top of this building. The sides of your building could be windows going down, or bricks on the side of the building, or just some lines that wrap around your building, make it look even more 3D. So the first thing I'm going to show you how to do is make these windows that look like they're going way, 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 way back down into this tiny space. So your windows are going to start big and get smaller and smaller and smaller as they go into your vanishing point. So how we do this correctly so that they don't look all funky, we are going to start with our ruler again. We always use our ruler. And I think I'll show you on this building right here. So on this building, I'm just going to make 2 straight lines going down into the vanishing point, like I kind of did on the side here. But I'm going to start kind of in the middle, like this. So I made myself 2 little points here, kind of like guideline points. I'm going to make sure this point and my vanishing point are on the same line. And just make a really light line. We don't want this to be too dark because we're going to erase it later. Really light line. I'm going to do the same thing for this point. Make sure that it's on the vanishing point. A really light line. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my ruler straight, just like this line is straight. So I can start at this line and kind of move it down a little bit, make a straight line. And then I'll keep moving it down a tiny bit and make a straight line, down a tiny bit. I always want to make sure my ruler is the same straight line as this line. So moving down. And I'm going to keep doing this until my ruler kind of reaches my vanishing point. They're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, once I think I've pretty much reached my vanishing point, now I have windows that start really big and get really small. Now, if I don't want this many, I can erase some. So I can kind of erase this window in between those windows and erase this window in between. So now I just have window, window like this. So that's how you create windows that look like they're in the same perspective as your buildings, okay? If I would just make windows like this, squares, it would look kind of off, like it wasn't in the same perspective as this building. So I want to make sure I use my ruler each time I'm making windows. The next thing I'm going to show you is how we can make the side of the building look kind of like bricks, like this building. So, kind of similar to how I did this building. I will show you on this building over here. So I'm going to take my ruler and make sure that it's on the same straight line as the top of the building here and move it down a little bit. And keep doing this until I reach my vanishing point. So let's imagine I went all the way down. Now if I want to make bricks, I'm going to put my ruler on the side of the building, just like this line right here. Move it out. Vanishing point is on one point of my ruler, and I'm going to go straight up. Now I'm going to keep it on the vanishing point, just shift it over a tiny bit, go up. Keep it on the vanishing point, shift it over a tiny bit, go up. And I'm going to keep doing this until I reach the edge of my building. Looks like I've done that already. So this could kind of look like bricks on the side of a building, or you could actually make these kind of shaded in and look like they are windows. Like maybe some windows are dark and some windows have lights in them. You can shade really lightly. So that's an option too for the side of your buildings. You can also shade in one of the sides of your building. So on my example right here, I shaded the side, only one side of my building, right here, and right here. So what that does is it kind of makes your building look even more 3D, like it has a shadow on the side of the building. So I can just choose some of my buildings to do this on. Maybe I'll choose this one because it's kind of a small area. And just shade really lightly. That means press really lightly with your pencil to make a dark area. I can do that for this side too of this building. So when we add a shadow to something, it really makes it look realistic, because everything in real life has a shadow, and it makes it look more 3D when you add shadows. So I could do that for a few of my buildings if I wanted to. Maybe even this building could have a shadow too. Now on the tops of my buildings, I want to add some sort of detail on each of the tops of my buildings. I don't want any of them to be blank. So this is where you can be really creative, like I showed you before. You can add logos, like I showed you the Nike symbol, like maybe this is the Nike headquarters building. I could add maybe some tiny people, because these people would be very, very tiny if they were on the top of a building. So I could just add little tiny bodies on the top here, some heads and some tiny bodies. I could add some trees like I showed you before. So maybe these would be the tops of the trees. And there'll be some trunks coming down like this, maybe some bushes. Last year, a lot of the third graders liked to add these logo details. So some students added different logos, like different restaurants or different stores that they like to go to. So that could be a good option for you too. Or you could just be super creative and make this your own building. You could create your own logo for this building. Like maybe this could be a paint palette, and this could be a paintbrush, and this could be the art store, since I really love art. So you just be creative with what you put on the tops and the sides of your buildings. But each building should be covered on the tops and the sides. There should be no blank buildings. Okay? So that is our next step. After we finish that, I will show you how we're going to take one of our buildings and add the top of our shoe and take a photograph so it looks like we are inside of the building.